Kilo 404 Boxing and More. Shout out to the LDBC. I just got done watching that Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder All Access piece. Good entertainment, good information, good background on both guys, where they come from, how they came up in the sport, in life. Just an all around good snapshot into the life of these guys behind the scenes and also their professional lives. I've been waiting on this to come out. I've been waiting on it. I look forward to these when the big fights are coming on, whether that was the 24/7 on HBO or whether it's All Access on Showtime, even the behind the gloves. The gloves off that they do over in the UK. I just liked the face-offs and things like that, and when they look at the lives of the fighters going into those big fights. There's one thing in particular that I want to talk about that whole segment. I made a video earlier today, and it's my fight prediction video where I was talking about Wilder and Fury. I talked about them getting in the ring when Fury got in the ring with Wilder after Wilder knocked out Spilka. And I talked about how, in my opinion, way back then, and it still remained the same, was that Fury got in that ring with Wilder because he wanted the spotlight. Wilder had, he was at Wilder's fight. Fury had just beaten Klitschko a little while earlier, became the IBF, the WBO, and the WBA champion. And there was all this noise surrounding Deontay Wilder because he had, recently became champion for beating Bermane. And I felt like Fury was at that fight, and some people probably didn't recognize who Fury was. He was over in the US, and his fight with Klitschko took place in Germany. But the other thing is, I feel like a lot of people, were all excited about what Wilder was doing, and especially once they saw that knockout, the way he knocked out Artur Spilka. I felt like Fury couldn't take it no more. He had to get in the ring and say, wait a minute, I'm the champion. I got all these belts. I beat Klitschko. This guy just beat Stavern. That's nothing. And that was my theory. And I've held on to that all these years. I've always thought that's what it was about because I didn't really think Fury really wanted to fight Wilder. And Wilder actually said it, when they were in the ring. Wilder said, man, this is just for an act. You're acting, you're fake, you're phony. This fight could have been happened a long time ago. And what Wilder was talking about was true. He was talking about, before Fury even fought, I think the guy's name was Christian Hammer. He could have had a fight with Wilder. He chose to fight Christian Hammer. There's a lot more to it than that, but I don't want to really get into all of that. That's not what the video is about. But my point is, I didn't think back then Fury really wanted that fight. And I also felt like after that, I always felt like Fury deep down felt like he had lightning in a bottle. And when he beat Klitschko, and I don't think he was ever sure of himself that he could do it again. And I know that may sound crazy to some people because you feel a lot of people will say, well, if you do something the first time, you can do it. So the second time should be easier. But I really felt that, this is my heart of hearts, way back then, I felt that Fury had fought out of his mind. Vladimir absolutely obliged him by the way he executed his game plan or failed to execute it. And I felt like Fury didn't really want that rematch. And I felt like Fury certainly didn't want to go face Deontay Wilder anytime soon. And, Fury went off the rails shortly thereafter and was never seen again in the boxing ring until his fight with Safari, or whatever the guy's name was. And he's had this fight with Pianetta, and, now he's finally, you know what I'm saying, coming back, you know, form and gonna have his Wilder fight. But if you guys remember, when Fury didn't come out of the woodwork until all this talk was Joshua and Wilder, Joshua Wilder. Then all of a sudden Fury started making videos and started doing interviews and started making posts and stuff talking about, pretty much it was AJ more than Wilder, because I think Wilder actually had some part in helping Fury get himself back on track as far as being, you know what I'm saying, being positive and motivating him and talking to him, encouraging him, whatever. I don't know. Excuse me. But I felt like with AJ being right there in his country and AJ having his old titles, I think that bothered Fury too much for him to allow himself to just stay on the sideline in the shape he was in and not to pursue a comeback. I think that drive is what pushed him to come back. But it was, once again, it's all about, he wants to be in that spotlight. He wants that fame. I think he feels like he was shortchanged on the fame and the accolades that he felt he should have gotten after he beat Vladimir Klitschko. Okay? When he was at that fight with Wilder, when I'm watching this all access, fast forward to about 30, 40 minutes ago tonight, so about, 3 years after he got in the ring with Wilder, I'm looking at this all access and they're showing like in-depth details of what all was going on with Fury before he got in the ring with Wilder. Fury was going around, want a drink? Hey, how about a drink? Let's go have drinks. I mean, that's all he was doing with the whole, everybody he talked to. He was like, want a drink? Want some Grey Goose and orange? Want a drink? Let's go do this. Hey, let's go to the bar. Let's go get drunk. Let's go get tore up. So forth and so on. So it's like, he got in that ring with Wilder. He wasn't even sober. He got in that ring probably already feeling good, maybe a little drunk, maybe high. I mean, they showed one shot of him where he actually looked like he was messing with his nose and snorting as if, like, you know what I'm saying, he had to hit him a couple of bumps early on. You know what I'm saying? And that's just my speculation and based on being around and having seen people who were coke addicts at some point or another and the way they conduct themselves. So, you know what I'm saying, it's not a mystery that he was using coke, but me personally, from watching that, I feel like he was under the influence of cocaine that night, the night he got in the ring with Wilder. That's my opinion based on what I saw. Okay? That said, I don't feel like he really wanted to fight Deontay Wilder then. I think he does now because it's really the only way back. He has to fight one of these two guys that everybody's giving all the credit to. And of the two, I think it makes most sense for him to fight Wilder. And the reason I say that, because the AJ fight, being a domestic rivalry, would be there even if he was knocked out by Wilder, even if he lost to Wilder. As long as he keeps it together, stays in shape, keeps his head together, Fury could always go to that AJ fight. As long as AJ is willing to fight him. As long as Eddie Hearn doesn't use the loss as an excuse. But like I said, that's what I really wanted to touch on about that all accesses. And Fury was walking around talking to people in the crowd saying, he's not a champ, I'm the champ, I'm the real champion. There's only one champion, I'm the champion. He's a dawser. He didn't say that. He didn't say that back then. But seriously, for him to be saying, all the stuff that he said, I mean, you know what I'm saying, it really was what about me? Look at me. I want some attention. I know I'm at his fight, but I want some attention. Put the cameras on me. The crowd needs to be looking at me. They need to cheer when I stand up. That's kind of the way it went. And don't get me wrong, there was so much more to this all access than what I'm talking about. But this is the part I'm choosing to talk about because, to me, this puts the whole relationship and the whole how this fight came to be from 3 years ago or better, to now in microcosm. And like I said, I truly believed back then that it was all about attention. Now, whether Fury would have fought Wilder back then, had everything been able to come together and the deal was right and everything aligned, I'm sure he would have, especially if he was able to beat Vladimir Klitschko in a rematch. You know, but you got to remember, Fury was, him and Klitschko had already done the gloves off, face off for that rematch. That fight was like, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was within a month or so, maybe it was a month and a half or so of happening. And then Fury just pretty much disappeared. I mean, it was that serious. That, you know, Fury just kind of went away. And I don't even remember. Now that I think about it, there was some time in there where Fury was supposed to fight David Haye. And I don't even remember what happened with that. I remember when that was, whether that was after him being stripped or however that was. But and that's another subject. But my point is, Fury kind of just disappeared in the midst of them about to have that rematch. And had he had that rematch and won it, the natural thing to do would have been to fight the winner of Wilder and Povetkin. But Povetkin and Wilder also didn't happen because of Povetkin's drug testing issues. But my point is, now, and I'll go back to it once again, Fury could not stand these guys getting all this limelight while everybody's talking about him like he's some kind of relic, a has-been. And, you know, if you go back to when the videos and stuff first started coming up, he was just somebody screaming for attention. He was in terrible shape, but he was just screaming for attention, putting down AJ, putting down Wilder. But his determination, his will pushed him to get himself back into fighting shape, to get himself healthy. And now he's here. And you know, a couple weeks from now, I think it's 2 Saturdays from now. 2 Saturdays from now. Hey, he gonna have to get in the ring and face that man, and we're gonna see what happens. I want to point out one more thing that Tyson Fury said. Tyson Fury said when he was there being interviewed that he wants to do something to Wilder that nobody's ever done. He wants to make Wilder quit. And when I say, and you know, I just watched this, so I'm maybe a little gray on what exactly he said. But when I watched it, I didn't get the idea that he meant quit as in quit the fight. I think he said the way I interpreted it was he wants to make Wilder quit boxing, quit the sport. And for me, that speaks volumes. That tells me, in my mind, that somehow Fury sees Wilder as part of the reason he quit the sport himself. I think at the end of the day, after Fury got in that ring with Wilder and looked him in the eye and he didn't see no fear, and he himself, regardless of what he was showing on the outside, he was crying on the inside because of all of his own personal demons, the last thing he wanted to do was face that man in the ring. And then I think that also made him start to wonder, did he even want to go through with the Klitschko rematch? And then he also it led him to wonder, did he even want to continue as a boxer? Did he even want to continue to live? You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying Wilder solely did all of that, or his encounter with Wilder, but I think that was a nudge in that direction. And I think the reality was that he realized that that was a fight he wasn't ready for, and he had done, you know, for lack of a better quote, slid down a razor blade and landed in an alcohol river. And that wasn't what he wanted. But he hadn't talked his way into it. Now, December 1st, Fury has yet again talked his way and worked his way and fought his way into that fight with Deontay Wilder that eluded himself, Wilder, and the boxing fans, boxing public, since 2015. And now it's time for that fight to come to fruition. in my heart of hearts and in my opinion, using my mind, Tyson Fury doesn't finish that fight on his feet. I just hope that when it's all said and done, Tyson Fury can pick up the pieces and move forward and build on the things he's done for himself to get to this point, and doesn't fall back into the doldrums where he was after the last time and around the last time he climbed in the ring with Wilder and challenged Deontay Wilder to a fight. Hey, shout out to the LDBC. To my subscribers, I thank you. To my repeat viewers, I thank you. To any viewers, I thank you. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I ask that you please subscribe. Hit that bell icon. Drop a comment in the comment section. Hit that like for me. It's D-Lo 404 Boxing and more. And I'm out. Peace.